All right, hey guys, so today we're going to start off our curriculum with talking about systems and models. So I want you to follow along in your notes and hope you enjoy. All right, so I'm going to pull up our systems and models information. Hopefully you guys all can see it well. All right, beautiful. Let's just make this big really quick. Okay, so this is going to correlate to our topic 1 in our IB curriculum. Foundations of environmental systems and societies. So the ideas we want to take away from this video is a systems approach can help in the study of complex environmental issues. And these issues are really complex. We're going to see a lot of different factors in all of our problems that we're going to study this year, and a systems approach is going to be the way that we look at most of the things that we study this year. And the use of systems and models simplifies interactions, and it can provide a more holistic view without reducing issues to single processes. So we're going to think about that as we go through this video as well. So you might have already talked about lots of systems and models in ESS already, especially in year 1. You guys studied water systems, you studied soil systems, terrestrial food production systems, food choices, and when you talked about the atmosphere. So all of these different things are ways that you can use systems within ESS. And we want to talk about as well how models are going to be simplified constructions of reality. And we want to always be thinking about like which aspects when we're constructing these models are we going to ignore and which ones we're going to include. And scientists have to think about that all the time when they're constructing their models and diagrams of systems. So we want to keep that in mind as we talk about our own environmental systems that we'll be studying. So just to refresh a little bit, we've talked about levels of organization before, especially if you studied this in living environment or biology. And our smallest levels of organization are going to be all the way at the bottom with our smallest units of matter, which are atoms, followed by molecules, all the way up to organelles and cells, finally groups of cells that are going to turn into tissues, and those tissues will turn into organs, and those organs will turn into organ systems, and finally we'll have lots of organ systems together to create organisms. After that, we'll be going all the way up to populations. Many populations that live together is going to be community. Community and its non-living surroundings are going to be an ecosystem, and we're going to focus a lot on ecosystems this year. And finally, the part of Earth that contains all of our ecosystems is our biosphere. And a biosphere is going to refer to the part of the Earth inhabited by organisms and extends all the way from the upper parts of the atmosphere to deep within the Earth's crust. So the key vocabulary we're going to write down for right now are systems and surroundings. Now a system, again, is just a collection of interrelated parts that work together by way of some driving process. Surroundings are everything around the system being studied. So we're going to talk a lot about system and surroundings as we talk about our systems. Now, there are lots of different examples of systems. A system could really be anything with those interrelated parts that's going to function outside or differently from the whole, and the individual parts don't function on their own in that system. So all the parts of a bicycle, if you just have them laid out, are not going to do you much good. But when we put them together and they're functioning together, it creates a vehicle of transportation that we can use. A car is another example of a system. A cell is a system. A flower can be considered a system. An organ system, like your circulatory system or your respiratory system or even your nervous system. Your body is a system. A school could be considered a system with all the different parts functioning together. An electric circuit, or any sort of environmental system. Over here we have a picture of a data system within a computer, also a very good example of a type of system. So there's a lot of different ones we can talk about, and you guys are going to be diagramming on your own systems later in class. More vocabulary are different types of systems. Now we have opened, closed, and isolated systems. Open systems are going to exchange energy and matter with their surroundings, and most ecosystems that we're going to talk about are open. Closed systems have exchanges in energy, but not matter with surroundings. So our planet is going to be usually a closed system because we have that sun radiation energy coming in, but we don't have a lot of matter going in or out. But we can talk about the exceptions later. An isolated system are going to be mostly laboratory experiments because we don't have exchanges with energy or matter with the surroundings. And these are typically hard to get, and we'll talk about this few small cases of isolated systems as we go throughout the course. Now, a system is comprised of storages and flows. So the flows are the going to provide the inputs and the outputs of energy, which all systems have, energy and matter. And the flows are the processes that may be either transfers of something or transformations. So like, for example, a change in the chemical nature or a change in the state of energy. So for example, when we go to our sun radiation, which will be used in photosynthesis, that'll be converted into our glucose, which can then be later converted into ATP, which is the cell's cellular energy currency. So energy can go through a lot of transfers, and we will talk about those in a little bit, but we are calling those flows. In our system diagrams, storages, we're going to sometimes have rectangular boxes around them, and flows are going to be represented by these arrows. So we can see what direction the transformation or the transfer is occurring. Sometimes these arrows and boxes will be proportional to whatever process or change in matter is going on. Sometimes they won't be. So we just have to make sure we're looking very carefully at our system diagrams. Here's an example of a system diagram. We have our storages here in our rectangular boxes, our flows as our arrows in the direction of the transfer or the transformation. Again, we're looking back at our levels of organization. An ecosystem is going to be an open system. So again, closed systems only exist experimentally, or if we talk about the entire biosphere, we can sort of consider that a closed system as well. And here we have another version of a different type of system diagram. We have our storages in our boxes and our arrows as our flows. So now a model is just a simplified version of reality and can be used to understand how a system works and to predict how it will respond to change. A model inevitably involves some approximation and therefore lots of accuracy. And we have to use models in science because we cannot get reality every single time we're trying to study something. So models can easily translate results that can be shown to the public. They can predict or simplify complex ideas, and they can produce really great predictions. And we have to produce these models in order to communicate ideas to the public, to facilitate policy, lots of different reasons for models, and they're very, very important. But models are not totally accurate, and they rely on expertise of people making them, so they can be interpreted differently, they can have biased political interests, and the model is only as good as data. Different models may show different effects using the same data. So we have to think really critically about the models that we are looking at, and remember to take note if our models are from a reputable source or not, which we have talked about in a previous video, which I will link here. So when you're looking at a model, you want to make sure, does it agree with other models? Check out some different models of the same thing, see if it's similar. Does it explain past observations? Is it just something totally new out of the blue, or is it based on previous scientific research? And can it predict reality accurately? If it's not going to do that, it's probably not a good model that you can base your conclusions on. All right, so that's pretty much it for today. Let me go back to me. All right, wonderful. So I'm glad you guys were able to stick with me through this video. Go ahead and make sure you have all your notes, and if you missed a part, you can go back, rewind, and fill it in on your own. Okay, see you later.